Shalom everyone, Boker Tov and Chodesh Tov. We're going to focus this morning on Rosh Chodesh. And the specific Rosh Chodesh of Adar Sheni. Adar has 2 months this year, and we're about to celebrate Purim in about 2 weeks. And the Talmud tells us that Misha Nichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha. When Adar starts, Simcha should come even more. Simcha increases, joy increases. And the question we're going to ask is, how can we be joyful, as according as you might say commanded to do so, according to the tradition in Adar, when there is so much sadness and tragedy, when we're watching Ukraine be dominated and attacked. I mean, even there was last night concern about nuclear explosions, it's absolutely horrible. This is a horrific time, and not to mention the pandemic, which we're still in the throes of, maybe, please God. And then yet the other tragedies that follow us. Sadly, people are suffering. People in our own communities, sadly, are dying, struggling with all kinds of illnesses that we see and even those we don't. So it really raises the question, what does it mean? Adar comes, Purim comes, Marbim B'Simcha. What does it mean be joyful? So I want to say this thing about Rosh Chodesh. So Rosh Chodesh is the new month. We in the Jewish people, we follow the moon as it's directed in the book of Exodus. That's our calendar. And the power of celebrating the new month based on the moon is not that the moon, even though we look in the sky and the moon seems to, change its size, it's, smaller, a quarter, a half, it's full. We celebrate Jewish holidays not on the full moon in general, some we do, but the new month, that's specific. I mean, we do actually some full moon, but specifically the new month is when the moon is in the sky, it's completely dark for that one day-ish or half a day, and then a sliver of light comes. That is the transition to the new Hebrew month. So the moon is always there, but it just transitions from being blinded to us to a little bit of light. And that, teaches us very powerfully that for us, the new month, every new moon, so to speak, it's the same moon, but it's an opportunity for renewal. It's an opportunity for seeing a sliver of light in a sea of darkness, in a dark sky. And that message that we can find light, even in a time of great tragedy, is a message, honestly, of the Jewish people and our survival. And we look at the world today and its tragedies. Sadly, there have been tragedies before, and there sadly will be tragedies in the future. But the Jewish message, based on that sliver of light of the new moon and celebrating it, is that we have to push forward, be joyful, almost force it on ourselves in times of tragedy. And that even helps define what exactly is simcha. What does it mean to marbim b'simcha, to really be joyful in Adar when we don't feel like it, honestly? To be b'simcha isn't a frivolous joy. It's not a sense of just being silly, although it has a role on the holiday of Purim. But deep simcha, true simcha, what I call simcha of the mitzvah, simcha shel mitzvah, as the rabbis call it. The deep joy of the simcha, which you do is you're commanded to do it, even if you don't fully feel like it, is you're balancing the tragedy and the suffering and the sadness around us. And you're holding that in one hand. And you're pushing yourself to be grateful and happy and celebratory on the other hand. Examples. Jenny and I had the blessing just recently be at a beautiful wedding. A wedding was postponed a few times that Jenny officiated beautifully. I was her assistant just recently. At this wedding, which had been postponed, which is still in the midst of COVID, there was a lot of sadness in the fact that this wedding was not able to be celebrated as it once was dreamed to be. It still was beautiful, very meaningful, but it was hard. And not to mention, at every wedding, there is some sadness in it, because there are people that are not around the chuppah, who are no longer in this world, who are gone to the world to come, who we wished could have been here and celebrated with us in person. There's sadness in that. There's tragedy in that. And yet we hold that, and we still break the glass, and we still dance the horror. Because true simcha is holding the sadness, thinking and holding for those people that we've lost or we lost in our own heart, and then saying, even with that, we are even more grateful. We are going to celebrate with them in mind. We're going to take this moment to appreciate this moment, because not every moment, it will not last. So deep simcha says, not frivolous joy, not irrelevant, not completely forgetting. It's really holding sadness and tragedy and saying, in honor of Ukraine, in honor of all those people, sadly, who are fighting or dying, because they are suffering, in their honor, we're going to hold that. We're not going to forget that. And we're going to celebrate, because we're going to say we're going to honor life as much as we can. And in fact, we're going to bring these people and try and send them spiritually some love and some joy as best as we can. That balancing of both is what true simcha is about. And that's what it's like when you transition from the darkness to the new moon, a slight light. It's not overwhelming, it's just a little bit. So we still have a lot of the darkness there, but we bring a little bit of the light. We have to force the light. And that's a lot about life. And I would say, frankly, it's a Jewish message. Our history has been filled with so much tragedy, so much darkness, so much. All we could look up in the sky and all we'd see is no moons, ever. Just from the sadness, our tears would cloud our vision. But the Jewish gift of survival is even the darkest moments. We look for light. We look for joy. We appreciate it. We hold it. In fact, we dance with tears in our eyes. That's the Jewish way. Please, God, may we have more frivolous joy. But in this particular Shabbat, in this Rosh Chodesh, may we bring the joy that is held with a broken heart, and may we find a way to smile and dance, even with it together. That's Rosh Chodesh. That's Adar. That's the Jewish message.